The money that's supposed to be going to be saved. Where's my headphone? There's money that's supposed to be going to be saved.
Black one.
How many minutes do we have now? What's today's one is what?
Are we live already?
Yes, now.
Hey, I'm saying all of this. Then say, why are you like this now?
Yeah, but it was only 2 seconds. How long? How long?
We're right now? Yeah, we're right now.
That's what I'm saying. When does it end?
We
6:58.
have it all the time.
So 7.
So 7:58.
58.
Yes.
So my math is off. Was that 13 minutes? Yeah.
8 minutes.
You guys need to be more ATM fees. This guy doesn't. This guy.
We pay 52 now.
No, it's 60 banks to compete. Bank fees have to be higher.
Well,
They have to be higher. They must. You can't keep using price controls to hold down a
the
sector.
economy will plummet.
It will not
Cannot
plummet.
afford
It will not
No,
plummet.
but let it be the way it is.
See,
In
what you
fact,
should do,
65 now is high enough as it is.
You should allow banks to charge what they want. They will compete. One will say, I'm
Smooth 91. Welcome back. It's time for 6 morning.
definitely not Stanbic. They're not here.
Okay.
5
Morning,
weeks, we still haven't seen Stanbic. We miss you guys. Where are you guys at? Lagos, Lagos, good morning. How are you
Talk
guys
about
doing?
pressure.
No, right?
About show
Yeah.
once again to us on WhatsApp at 0809-444-0.
And strict enforcement of corporate governance principles in the banking sector have helped to stabilize the sector and should also increase growth. And I say to him, and I say to everybody else that's listening, I even say to Kayode, if you want the banking sector to grow, you must allow for competition. And so this is what we're talking about. So now, Kayode, let's bring our conversation on here so
Yes,
Lagos can join in. And if it takes the rest of the time, that's fine. All right. So Lagos, this is what I'm talking about. Kayode, how much is the ATM fee if you go to a non-bank ATM, bank that you don't bank with? So you have your regular bank, whoever you bank with. You go to another ATM and you use it. What's the fee?
It's 65 naira.
All right, 65 naira, right?
Yes.
So, and I think the first three withdrawals are free, right? So the first 3 withdrawals are free, and then after that, if you keep using another bank that you're not banking with, you pay the 65 naira fee.
True.
Now that fee is mandated by the central bank across the board, across the entire country. Every single bank has to comply with that fee. Kayode, I say to you now, Lagos and beyond, that is part of the problem. If you want the sector to grow, right, and if folks out there always disagree with me on things like this, which is fine, which is why we have healthy discussions on this show. If you want the banking sector to grow, you must allow the banks to compete with each other for fees. So for example, Bank A can say, okay, Mr. Baker, if you open an account with us, your first 2 months of ATM withdrawals at other banks, will refund them to you. And if you have to pay a fee, we'll charge you 50 naira. Bank B that wants to compete for your business can say, okay, Mr. Baker, you know what, we'll give you the first 4 months free of ATM withdrawals at other banks, and we'll charge you 40 naira. And another bank says 30 naira, another one says 20. Yeah? So each bank is able to compete based on fees.
But I don't see those banks saying I'll charge you 20 naira.
And that's the problem
because
now.
65 naira in itself is really high.
No, yeah. Oh, you know what?
It's
Thank you.
really
We're having a replica of this conversation. Lagos, you know that's actually, if you compare Nigeria to other banks, this is another issue with sectors and growth. Price controls in this country are not helping our sector's growth. Price controls from the federal government. Kayode is saying 65 naira is high. Let us go and see what's happening in other markets. I won't even go to America. Let's not even forget America. Let's use South Africa, yeah? So I was looking not too long ago at the average banking fees for withdrawals outside of your network, yeah? In South Africa, this is what, let me even read what they said here. It said, between 2012 and 2017, the average cost to withdraw cash at another bank's ATM has increased by 15% from 13 Rand in 2012 to 15 Rand in 2017. Now, as far as exchange rates is concerned, it's 24 Naira to 1 Rand. So if you want to compare that, the 13 Rand in 2012 comes out to 312 Naira, an ATM fee, yeah? And now it's increased by 15% to 15 Rand, which is 360 Naira. So in South Africa, which, didn't you go there for one trip or something?
Yes.
Yeah, you had a great time. Kayode was sharing pictures all over the place. So in South Africa, the average fee that South Africans pay to withdraw money It's about 360
Okay, but
naira.
let me stop you there.
Okay,
As well. South
okay.
Africa doesn't have. We don't have the type of economy.
I bet you're always using this
that-
excuse.
but
You're always
we
saying
don't.
this. No.
We don't. I mean,
Kayode.
if you compare the other states and then you compare Lagos State, you will find that Lagos State in itself.
Okay, the problem is you said no, I disagree with you. They should allow the banks to compete. Wait, let me finish the paragraph. What they say? They now looked at two banks. Yeah, I think this is Standard Charter. And this is I'll tweet this article. Anybody who's interested can read it. It's on Business Insider. Yeah. So they now said the trends follow a similar pattern with native ATMs, with Standard Bank again the only bank to actually reduce fees. So Standard Bank, I believe Standard Charter, they went from 16 rand in 2012, that's the fees they were charging, to 15 rand. Then they now used FNB, another bank which was more expensive. They went from 12 rand in 2012 to 17 rand. So 17 rand, I think that's about, what is that? Almost 400 and something now, almost 500. Individual banks in South Africa are allowed to charge what they want for fees, and consumers are now allowed to pick which bank they want to go to. I mentioned America, so I won't mention them, but just for again comparison, the average fee in America, $2.50 if you go across the board. $2.50 times 360, that's 900 naira.
Okay, once again, we don't have the type of economy they have.
This
But let's get to the
and
message.
this your economy thing,
This
Kayode.
This one here says, Rotus ATM costs money to run, and banks can decide not to charge their customers, but the bank providing the service must get paid.
I wish you had added your name to that. No, and I agree with you. What I'm saying is that the banks should not be limited. First of all, 65 naira is too low. If you look, if you go to Kenya, South Africa, even Ghana, if you compare it, other banks in other African countries and around the world are allowed to compete. So I wish you had sent that your name, but the point I'm trying to make is that yes, the bank has to get paid for its service, but the fee it charges you, it should be allowed to charge what it wants. If another bank charges lower, then you leave that bank and go to another one. So that's the whole point of competition. The ceiling of 65 naira is not helping as far as competition is concerned.
Okay, so the MVP from Suele says, Dear Rotus, ATM maintenance fee is 100 naira with all the competition. Okay,
Again,
so bear that in mind.
Okay, I bear that. Fine.
Chidi says, speaking on government's bonds in history, we have had sovereign bonds that have defaulted on their payments, even when they could not print money to service.
When they could print money,
to
right.
service them. That's the debt. It really is not an important occurrence.
Impossible,
excuse me.
Yeah.
It's just that it won't
all
go
go well. Yes,
if the defaulting issuer can
cascade into a systemic debt crisis. Chidi,
Okay,
thank you very
okay.
much. So yes, it's. I should correct myself. Thank you, Chidi. It is not impossible, right? It's not impossible to default. And yes, Nigeria now. What is our debt to revenue now? 68%, almost 70%. So yeah, but the likelihood of it happening is very low. But thank you for that message. Yes, it is possible.
This one, Darlington from Papa says, Good morning. About the CBN governor, I always queried the charge of 65 naira in the third withdrawal from ATM of other banks. It also discouraged. It is also
This
discouraged
financial inclusion.
Yeah,
Right.
drive from the CBN. Allow the banks to compete.
See, that's
Okay,
Darlington
so that's
agrees
one
with me.
person
You know,
on
I
your
know it's
side.
one person, but that's the
Ayola
point.
says legislative fees for ATM and e-channels to encourage banks to invest in e-channels. Otherwise, their cashless policy would not work.
Good point, Ayola. That's a good point.
And Victor Osai says banks are milking and squeezing us dry. The ATM cost is good as it is currently. Well,
Victor,
he sides with me.
no problem. Okay, Victor, your opinion is valid. Yes.
Let's see, but okay, this one
D is
says.
saying, have I looked at the per capita income of South Africa and the USA? Yes.
Okay, and that's what I mentioned too.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about, yeah. So yeah, cost of living it's much higher there. Also, the incomes are higher. I was arguing with Kayode Lagos. If you allow prices to rise, guess what? Wages have to rise along with them. Again, this price control thing also goes to fuel. It also goes to, if you allow prices to accelerate, right? If you allow competition and prices rise, employers have to pay more because cost of living is going up. I mean, I'm speaking theoretically,
I'm
but
also talking about how the government is the largest employer of
Right,
people in
right,
Nigeria.
yes.
So then we're still talking about just last week we're
the
talking
minimum
about
wage.
minimum wage.
Right.
So you say it's a lot. That's
I know it's a lot,
So
but I'm
65 naira is fair. You're the finance guy, so I don't
No,
know.
I mean, hey, you're free to disagree, but again, if you compare, I think it's low. Other messages?
Other messages, we can only take one more though.
Okay, right,
This
right.
one says
So then,
from SOJ, when banks are expected to provide alternative power sources and security, which is part of government,
has
has
failed to
failed.
provide.
Well, yeah.
SOJ is making he's making a point. I think if I get him correctly, he's saying that the cost of doing business is pretty high. So I think I'm not misquoting him. I think his point is that 65 naira fee is too low. But hey, like Victor said, people are not complaining, you know. But again, if you want more competition in the sector, I think that you have to allow more competition, which would lead to prices going up. But then also, I think wages would, you know, theoretically correspond with that rise as well.
Good luck with that.
Hey, we'll see.
All right, Lagos.
Lagos,
stay
I
close to
appreciate
your-
all your messages. Thank you. I mean, you have to thank them. They are guests.
Thank you,
They are
Lagos,
our
for
analysts.
your messages.
I'm sorry
yes.
for the messages we couldn't get to.
7:30 though comes freshly pressed, so please stay close to your radio. We've got more great stories to share with you in that hour.
Beyond the headlines.
Yeah, it was good.